Here we are, Math Lab, creating equations 1. So, we are reading the story problem, creating an equation, and then finding the solution using that equation. So, the idea is we want to figure out what we know, what we don't know, find the relationship, okay? So, number 1, Paul ran 31 miles more than Leah last week. Paul ran 42 miles. How many did Leah run? Okay. So, we know how many Paul ran, right? Okay. And we know that Leah's is based off of how many he ran. Okay. So, we've got 42 equals, and it says Paul ran 31 miles more than Leah last week. So, Leah, we don't know how many miles she ran, so we'll call that M for miles. Okay. So, Paul ran 31 miles more than her. So, if we take Leah's amount of miles, add 31 to it, okay, that should equal 42. Okay, so there's our equation. We're just dealing with single variable equations, so they're pretty simple. Okay, so our solution then would be pretty easy to figure out, right? We just subtract 31 from 42, and I get 42 minus 31, which should be 11, right? So Leah ran only 11 miles. Okay, so Michaela ran 26 miles more than Asanji last week. Michaela ran 36 miles. How many miles did Asanji run? So, same type of problem, right? So, if Michaela ran a total of 36 miles, okay, for Asanji, she ran 26 more than he did. So, 26 plus, we'll call it A for Asanji, okay, should equal 36. There's our equation. Again, we subtract 26 from both sides, and we get 10 equals A. So Asanji ran 10 miles. All right, so let's take a look at 3 and 4. James was given $11 for cleaning the attic. He now has 16. How much money did he start with? Okay, so again, we know where he's at right now, 16. Okay, and he had a certain amount of money. We'll use a $sign for our variable. And we want to know how much he started with. Okay, so he started with this amount, and then was given, so he added to that amount $11. Okay, so we should have 16 equals $sign plus 11. There's our equation. We subtract 11 from both sides, and we see that he started out with $5. Now, I understand most of these problems we can find the solution just by thinking through it. Okay, but the practice is kind of coming up with equations here. We're just trying to think through some equations. All right, 4. Find the price of one marker if 10 markers cost $70. Okay, so we have the amount that they cost. Okay, so we'll put C for cost. So we want the cost of 1, and we know we bought 10 of them. So if I take 70, okay, that's going to equal 10 markers times the cost of 1 marker. So I get 70 equals 10C. So I divide both sides by 10, and we get $7 per marker. Okay. Ryan and his 3 friends went out to eat. They decided to split the bill evenly. Each person paid $19. What was the total bill? So, we know each person is 19, paid 19, okay? There's Ryan and 3 friends, so there's 4 people total. So I know I could go 19 times 4, and that would get my total bill, right? Okay, put B for bill. So I could write it like that, and then just go 19 times 4, which would be 76. Or we could say we take that total bill and divide by 4, and that's going to equal 19. Okay, and then we would just times by 4 on both sides. So that, sometimes there's more than one way that we can do this, but that's what we'd end up with. Okay, number 6. Deshaun and his best friend found some money under the couch. They split the money evenly, each getting 25. How much money did they find? Okay, again, kind of same thing. How much did they find? We'll call it F for finding the money. Okay, so 2 people, they took the total amount they found, divided it by 2, and that was equal to 25. So, times both sides by 2, and we get 50 for the amount found. Okay, robs, bikes, rents, bikes. Wow, that's a tough sentence to say fast. For $20 plus $6 per hour. Okay, Matt paid $44 to rent a bike. For how many hours did he rent the bike? Okay, so we're looking for how many hours he rented the bike. Okay, so we'll call that H. So they rent bikes for $20 plus $6 per hour. Okay, so a way to think about this is making a table. So we have the hours, right? That determines the cost. And then how much he paid, so the cost. So if he just rented a bike but didn't use it for any hours, how much would that be? Well, we'd start for, that would be $20. Okay, if you just went there and rented a bike and gave it back to him, it would cost you $20. Okay, then if we used it for 1 hour, it would cost that $20 plus another $6, so it'd be $26. If we did it 2 hours, we'd add 6 again, and we'd get 32. Okay, so we can see that for our equation, okay, we're going to start at $20, and we're getting to 44, right? We know we paid 44, so we had to pay the 20 just to rent it. Then we add $6 for every hour that he got. So we get 44 equals 20 plus 6h. That's our equation. Okay, now could we write that equation 6h plus 20 equals 44? Yeah, you betcha we could. Okay, so to solve this, we subtract by 20. That gives us 24 equals 6h. Okay, divide by 6, and we get 4 equals h. So it took him 4 hours. Or he had the bike for 4 hours. Okay, number 8. Matt rented a bike from Mark's Bikes. Ooh, I wonder if they're better than Rob's Bikes. It cost $15 plus $4 per hour. Hey, that's a better deal. If Matt paid $23, then he rented the bike for how many hours? This will be a good comparison. So, same idea, right? Difference is, for the hours, at 0 hours, that initial cost, that starting cost was 15. Then we're only adding 4 each time, so that'd be 19, and then 23. Okay, so we can see he only rented it for 2 hours, don't we? But to make our equation, we'd go $23 equals that 15 plus $4 per hour. Then we could subtract by 15, okay, and we would have got 8, right? So 8 equals 4h, divide by 4, and we get 2 hours. Okay, what if we rented it for 4 hours? How much would that have cost? So add 4 would be 27, add 4 would be 31. So yeah, he saved like $13 had he used the same amount of time. Alright, backside. So, it says Jenny spent half of her weekly allowance on candy. To earn more money, her parents let her wash the car for $10. What is her weekly allowance if she ended with 18? So we know she has 18 right now. Okay, again, we can think, okay, so I don't know if a table's going to work here as well, is it? Okay, so we know that she had her total amount, right, her weekly allowance, we'll call it W. Okay, she spent half on candy, so she cut it in half. So that's what she did first. Then she was able to earn more money, so we can add $10 to that because she earned it. And we get 18 equals W divided by 2 plus 10. So we subtract 10 from both sides, giving us 8 equals W divided by 2 times by 2, and her weekly allowance was $16. Not too bad. Okay, 10. John wanted to make note cards by cutting pieces of paper in half. Before starting, he got 7 more pieces to use. When he was done, he had 30 half pieces of paper. With how many pieces did he start? Okay, so he started, we'll call it P. So he started, when he was done, he had 30. So 30 equals, he started with P, then he added 7 more pieces, then we divided by, we cut each of those in half. Okay? So, that one was kind of weird, but that's the route he would went. So first, we times by 2, get 60 equals P plus 7, because those would cancel. Subtract 7, and we get 53 equals P. So we started with 53 pieces of paper, right? That doesn't make sense, does it? Because if he cut them in half, he should have start with less, right? So maybe I misunderstood this one. Okay, so maybe, okay, did they mean just the 7 pieces? So he took his pieces of paper, cut them in half, then added 7 to that. Does that make more sense? We subtract 7. I would get 23. P over 2 times by 2. I need to have 46. This is a weird problem, isn't it? It has to do with, that's throwing me off, because he had 30 half pieces, which, I got it. He didn't cut them in half, he doubled them. That's because we're talking about half pieces. So from his 30 half pieces, okay, he had his pieces of paper, he added 7 to those, and then he doubled them because he cut them in half. That's where I was messing up. So we'd go like this, so 30 divided by 2 would be 15, equals P plus 7, subtract 7, and he would have started with 8 pieces of paper. That's what we were doing. Okay, I was reading that one weird. All right, 11. Ming had $22 to spend on 7 raffle tickets. After buying them, she had $1. How much did each raffle ticket cost? Okay, so she had $22. She spent it on 7 raffle tickets, so 7 times whatever the cost was, so 7C. And after buying them, she had $1. Okay, so let's change that to $1 left over. So we took the $22 and we subtracted the cost of the raffle tickets. Okay, subtract 22. We get negative 21 equals negative 7C divided by negative 7. And we get positive 3 equals a cost. So $3. Okay, 12. Joe had some candy to give his 3 children. He first took 5 pieces for himself and then evenly divided the rest among his children. Each child received 2 pieces. With how many did he start? Okay, so we had pieces of candy. And first, he took 5 pieces. Then he divided them evenly among his 3 children. So it should look like that. So times both sides by 3. We get 6 equals P minus 5. Add 5. We get 11 equals P. So we had 11 pieces of candy. Okay, 13. The sum of 3 consecutive odd numbers is 69. What is the smallest of these numbers? Okay, so the way to think about this is we have our smallest number, x. Okay, they're consecutive odd numbers. Okay, so if that's like 1, the next one would be 3, then 5. So if x were 1, x plus 2 would be 3, and x plus 5 4 would be 5. Okay, so they're the sum, so we add them all together, and that's going to equal 69. So 1, 2, 3, we have 3 x's plus, I'm simplifying, 2 and 4 give us 6, should equal 69. Subtract by 6, get 3x equals 63. Divide by 3, and x should equal 21. So my numbers should be 21, 23, and 25, which 8, 9, 2, 4, 6, 69. Okay, 14, last one. For a field trip, 21 students rode in cars and the rest filled 7 buses. How many students were in each bus if 329 students were on the trip? So we have 329 total. We'll say S for students in the bus. Okay, so 21 students weren't involved in those. Okay, so the rest filled 7 buses. So we have 7 times the number of students in buses. Then we have to add to that 21 that were removed, and that should equal 329. So we'd subtract 21. That would be 308 equals 7s. Divide by 7, and 7 goes into 308, goes into that 4 times 28, minus 2, bring down the 8, another 4, so 44 students were in each bus. Okay, and there we go.